The legendary country singer Vince Gill has spoken the truth about Kris Kristofferson, arguably the most influential musician of all time. The age of Gill is 67. After years of speculation, Gill has finally set the record straight regarding their relationship. What were his words to you? Is it some kind of shocking revelation, an honor that moves us deeply, or a long-kept secret that forces us to reevaluate our assumptions? We invite you to explore the impact on Vince Gill's life and career of the remarks made about Kris Kristofferson that caused him to feel sad. To some, this may be shocking news. The Truth About Kris Kristofferson, Vince Gill's Unforgettable Legacy. When pressed for an interview regarding Kris Kristofferson, Vince Gill spared no thought. He had witnessed Kristofferson's revolutionary impact on songwriting. No one else's words had the depth or quality of Kris Kristofferson's. Vince remarked, "The vocabulary of his depth was unheard of here." However, Gill had something to add as well. In 1997, he released a song without realizing it sampled Kris Kristofferson's "Help Me Make It Through the Night." After coming to terms with his mistake, he approached Kris to express his apologies. To Kristofferson, the singer said, "Hey, I think I just stole one of your songs in its entirety." The singer's contrite response was, "I don't care." He was the type of person who cared more about the songs themselves than the labels that released them. The moment Vince shared with Kris at the Hall of Fame induction, though, was the one that truly moved Vince. Vince was allowed to enter the crowd by Lisa, who is Kris's wife. Kristofferson had become so absorbed in his own mind that he was no longer the person everyone knew him to be. Vince, though, thought the moment was invaluable. "It was a neat memory for me to have. As Kris passed away, he was on the tour bus with his band, playing Kris's songs in succession. They performed a variety of songs, including Me and Bobby McGee, For the Good Times, Help Me Make It Through the Night, and many more." After that, Vince revealed the truth about Kristofferson's legacy. Would you say he was a great singer? Not always. But nobody cared because the songs were so good. They were really good. Kristofferson's courage was on full display when he flew straight to Johnny Cash's house in a helicopter to pitch the song Sunday Morning Coming Down. Even though Cash barely knew Kristofferson, the song's appeal was undeniable. Kris Kristofferson, the rebel who redefined country music. Kris Kristofferson wasn't just another country musician. He changed the game. Johnny refused to let him edit out the part about being high, and Johnny stood by him. Vince Gill knew the truth. Kristofferson's influence was more than just a voice or a hit song. It was the raw, undeniable power of music. His legacy will never fade. With singles like Me and Bobby McGee, For the Good Times, Sunday Morning Coming Down, and Help Me Make It Through the Night, Kristofferson solidified his position as one of the greatest songwriters of his generation, daring to take country music in a different direction during a time when polished, radio-friendly Nashville sounds were the norm. His raw, poetic songwriting brought a level of depth and realism that country had seldom witnessed before. He was born in Brownsville, Texas, and raised in California. Kristofferson's rise to fame was anything but ordinary. He was a Rhodes Scholar, a veteran, and for a brief period, he was the janitor at Columbia Records. His lyrics seemed to cut to the core, capturing pain, regret, and yearning in a manner that was both intimate and relatable. His honesty was beloved by both artists and listeners, joining forces with Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, and Waylon Jennings to form the Highwaymen. Kristofferson helped reshape the outlaw country movement, demonstrating that music should be authentic, unfiltered, and unabashedly honest. His cinematic work includes A Star is Born, Heaven's Gate, and the Blade trilogy, all of which showcase his distinctive voice and style. Kristofferson remained modest even after winning numerous Grammys, being inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame and receiving the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. His decision to stop performing in 2021 was not accompanied by fanfare. Rather, it was a natural progression in his career. Truth, not fame, was what made Kristofferson a legend. Kris Kristofferson, one of the greatest songwriters of all time, passed away on September 28, 2024 at the age of 88. His songs, stories, and impact will endure in the hearts of those he touched. On that fateful day, Vince Gill was going about his usual routine, thinking about his future, doing chores, and reflecting on his illustrious solo career. With decades of experience, numerous awards, and a dedicated fan base, Vince had created something truly remarkable on his own. However, he couldn't escape the uneasy feeling that something was about to change. Little did he know that this unease would be triggered by an unexpected phone call from Irving Azoff, the longtime manager of the Eagles. Vince answered the call, uncertain of what to expect and his heart racing with fear. The news that the Eagles wanted him to join their band shocked him to his very core. At first, he could hardly believe what he was hearing. It didn't seem real. The Eagles, after all, were one of the most iconic rock bands of all time, and their music had influenced generations upon generations. Vince began to wonder if it was all a hoax, since nothing this monumental happens by chance. However, as he listened more intently to Irving's solemn tone, he came to the realization that it wasn't a joke. There was a great deal of significance to the offer. The band wasn't merely inviting him to join as a new member, they wanted him to assume the role that Glenn Frey, one of their founding members who had passed away not long ago, had held. Vince experienced a whirlwind of feelings, including reverence, shock, anticipation, and immense responsibility. He had built his career as a country and bluegrass solo artist. Now he was being asked to become a part of something greater than himself, to join a group whose music had been a defining soundtrack for millions of people. However, he couldn't shake the question, why me? It wasn't merely a matter of talent, there were much deeper reasons behind this selection. Eagles co-founder Don Henley made it plain that Vince wasn't just a possibility, he was the only individual they had seriously considered for the role. Vince knew he was talented musically because his voice and guitar playing harmonized with the Eagles' sound, but he believed it would be impossible to succeed Glenn Frey. The prospect of continuing such an esteemed legacy was terrifying. Henley held Vince in high esteem for his musical abilities, character, and above all, his devotion to the Eagles' legacy. When Vince understood that this wasn't simply about taking over for Glenn Frey, but rather about paying tribute to his memory and continuing the band's spirit, he understood that the call wasn't merely about filling a position, but rather an invitation to begin a new chapter in his life. It was about embracing the legacy of a band he had long admired and finding a way to combine his own artistic vision with a history that extended far beyond himself. The path ahead would not be smooth. There would be pressure, expectations, and inevitable comparisons. But Vince Gill knew that his life had just changed irrevocably. Vince Gill's music has a way of touching people's hearts because it conveys indescribable emotions like grief, love, regret, and hope. Music has never been about the lyrics or melodies for Vince. It has always been a means of coping with the hardest parts of life. Each note and line in his songs represents a step in his journey, including his victories, defeats, and personal relationships. This has brought him comfort, and many others find solace in his words. On a more personal level, Vince has had his fair share of ups and downs in his life. He has had his fair share of success, but he has also had to deal with the unpleasant truths of personal relationships and health issues that have threatened to derail his career. One of the most difficult times in his life was the dissolution of his first marriage. Early in his career, Vince tied the knot with Janice Oliver, a gifted musician from the band Sweethearts of the Rodeo. They were brought together by a shared passion for music, but as Vince's fame grew, their relationship took a nosedive due to long distances, constant travel, and industry pressures. Despite their best efforts, the marriage didn't work out and they divorced in 1997. Vince went through a difficult time after his marriage ended, trying to be a good father to his daughter Jenny while coping with the pain of heartbreak. This experience forced him to confront his own shortcomings and, as usual, he found solace in music. During this period, his songs explored themes of loss, reflection, and self-discovery, which resonated with listeners who had experienced similar struggles. Just when Vince thought his love life had come to an end, life sprung another surprise. He discovered a second chance at happiness with Christian music star Amy Grant. They went from being friends to being married in 2000, joining their families and starting a new chapter in their lives together. But getting married and joining families isn't easy, and Vince had to deal with step-parenting, co-parenting, and adjusting to a new family dynamic. There were challenges, growing pains, and moments of uncertainty, but Amy was always there to love and comfort him. He often says that she was his rock and brought him through some of his hardest times. They created a home full of love, religion, and music as a couple. Their relationship not only made Vince feel safe, but it also changed his songwriting. His later songs reflected the peace he found in his second marriage. Songs about gratitude, healing, and joy. Fans could experience their amazing artistic synergy through duets like House of Love, where their vocals blended perfectly, showing how close they were. Vince Gill has done what he does best, put his heart and soul into his music. In return, his music has given people hope, comfort, and faith that they will never be truly alone. Vince found purpose through pain and passion, but also through love and faith. Vince Gill has been through a lot, career setbacks, heartbreak, and health issues that have tested his strength. Fans have seen him step away from the spotlight multiple times due to serious health problems, so they know that even the strongest voices need time to recover. In 2018, Vince had the worst and most disruptive health setback of his life, severe kidney stones. Just 2 years later, in 2020, Vince received another troubling diagnosis. He was born with a congenital cardiac disease that affects blood flow from his lungs to his heart. As a musician whose life revolved around singing, touring, and sharing his talent with the world, this news was a devastating reminder of his own mortality. The pain swiftly turned into a terrifying struggle, leading to a serious kidney infection that required hospitalization. This all happened at the worst possible time, as it meant he had to cancel many plans, including a much-anticipated appearance at the CMA Awards. Fans were upset, but they were also worried about his health. The fact that Vince took time off to concentrate on his recovery demonstrates how strong, determined, and eager he is to overcome any obstacle in his path. Despite his health struggles, Vince has never allowed them to define him. Instead, he has stayed a rock in the country music scene, proving that his commitment to the industry extends well beyond his own accomplishments. His impact reaches far into the core of country music, where he has labored to inspire and support the emerging talent. Vince has shown that the future of country music is just as important to him as the past by forming partnerships, mentoring new artists, and using his platform to show off new talent. His commitment to preserving country music history goes beyond coaching singers. As a valued member of the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum's Board of Directors, he has played a major role in preserving and honoring the genre's history. One of his biggest loves is supporting and encouraging up-and-coming musicians, just like he did for himself. Vince Gill has remained a major figure in country music despite his health and career struggles. His devotion to the field, willingness to help others, and ability to turn problems into big successes have made him one of the most admired people in the industry. He has collaborated with others on several projects honoring legendary musicians and their achievements, making sure that their stories continue to inspire new generations. Vince has always sung from the heart and allowed the music to speak for itself. Unlike many singers, he has never tried to become famous. Despite the challenges he has faced, he has never stopped giving back to the music community. For Vince, music is more than a job. It's a lifelong commitment to something bigger than himself. Despite the difficulties, Vince kept going. Even at the age of 67, Vince Gill remains one of the most revered country music singers, and his craft continues to improve with time. Vince Gill wasn't always such a famous figure. His parents were both musicians. His dad played the banjo and guitar, and his mom sang and played the harmonica. At the age of 5, Vince was playing his grandmother's guitar with great assurance, unknowingly setting the stage for a long journey. Despite this, Vince's childhood wasn't always easy. When his parents split up when he was a teenager, he found solace in music. Rather than letting his sadness consume him, he transformed it into melodies and lyrics, honing the raw storytelling abilities that would define his career. In the late 1970s, when Vince was a high school senior in Oklahoma, he decided he wanted to make a change and moved to Los Angeles. Compared to the small-town bluegrass gatherings he had played at in Oklahoma, the City of Angels had a whole different music scene, complete with rock clubs, neon lights, and an energy that thrilled and overwhelmed him. Vince found his first taste of success in Los Angeles when he joined the country rock band Pure Prairie League. The group's mix of rock and country gave him more fans and songs that showcased his developing songwriting skills, but something wasn't quite right. The longer he stayed, the more he realized how difficult it was to strike a balance between radio hits and original country music. Nashville, with its rich history of country and bluegrass music, beckoned to Vince like an old friend. It wasn't just about making career decisions, it was also about being honest with himself. He knew he had to return home if he wanted to make music that truly expressed his spirit. Now, decades later, it looks like the journey is coming full circle. With more cancellations, health problems, and retirement rumors, fans can't help but wonder if Vince Gill is finally leaving the music business that shaped him. Is he simply preparing for the next phase of his already stellar career? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: Vince Gill will always be a legend in country music. Submit your thoughts on Vince Gill's comments about Kris Kristofferson in the space provided below. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this video and hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more celebrity news. We will meet up then